I think the Niners are not stupid. The Warriors are not stupid. The Giants are sometimes stupid. Not always, not as often as they're accused of it, but they are sometimes. I think that their ownership, I think sometimes has their head buried in the sand, and I think that Farhan Zaidi sometimes gets stuck trying to prove that he knows what he's doing. Is the way that I'll say it. I know the criticisms of Farhan Zaidi. He's cheap. He's a nerd with a laptop. I bet he does have a laptop. I have a laptop.
Yeah, mine's open right now.
Right here.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a laptop. It's totally allowed to have a laptop. I bet all the GMs have
And
laptops.
I do think that they have dispelled the notion of them being cheap.
Correct.
This offseason they did.
But I also think it's not Farhan doesn't know what he's doing. It's sometimes I feel like he falls into the trap of really trying to prove to everybody that he does know what he's doing. And so I do think that that some of his decisions get a little bit too, not even decisions, his way of going about it gets a little stuck in the mud sometimes because he wants to follow a certain blueprint. And I've complimented them on this at times because I like people that have stick-to-itiveness. I like people that are like, this is how I want to do it. I know what I want to do, and I know how I want to do it, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have faith in it. That's often a good strategy. But over time, when those things don't work, I think then that's when you need to start listening to other voices a little bit more, and I don't know if they always do that.
And I think that it's interesting the way you lay it out because it plays off of our show thread from earlier and about what happens if this doesn't work this time. Because you've always said his plan was build up the farm, have them come to fruition, bring in free agents at that time, have some homegrown, have some free agents, have a real good major league club, and from there go on and win. And he has built up the farm pretty well, and you've got some guys he's drafted, Bailey and Harrison particularly, who are now here, and other guys who he inherited who are also now here. You could see a pretty good young core starting to percolate to the surface. He brought in free agents. Some have done better than others. Blake Snell can't get healthy. Not entirely his fault, and the rest of it. And here we go. If this now turns out to be a team that goes 75 and 87,
it's a problem.
It's a problem.
It's a problem.
And, we were talking on the thread about what do you do? And I don't know if Farhan has the ability or the time or the wherewithal to then change course. He's got 2 more years on his deal. So if this thing at the end of this year, after all he's done to try to right the ship, if the ship still isn't righted, I do think at the end of the year we're in an interesting spot.
I also think that the people who are actually making decisions about the Giants front office are not looking at the same things that we fans are looking at.
Yeah, good point.
I think a lot of people are going 75 and 87. Better fire that GM. We better stop going to games then. I'm not suggesting you don't go to the game. I'm telling you right now that ownership may look at, what are they, 36 and 40?
Yep.
They may look at 36 and 40 and they're like, that's not good. And then they'll be like, well, but how's attendance going?
It's up 2,900 fans from last year.
There you go.
Which is almost 10%. It's damn near 10%
Which
increase.
Is one of the biggest risers in all of baseball.
Correct.
Now, maybe their baseline was bad.
Yeah.
That they're working with from last year.
The attendance is basically the same as it was in 2019, which was the last year before the pandemic.
Pre-pandemic.
And that was that Kapler's first year, 2019?
It was.
Yeah.
No. That
was Bochy's last year.
It was Bochy's last year. Yeah. Correct.
So, and that's where, things had kind of...
And they were terrible.
Right.
On the field.
And that had been a slide from 2016, the last playoff year. It had been 3 years of, wow, they're bad, and attendance had sunk to that level. So they're now just back to that point.
Right. So it's not only attendance based, but I do think that the Giants have admitted this publicly. A lot of what they were trying to fix, it's not to say that the standings don't matter. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. But what the Giants ownership was trying to fix is just kind of like the vibe. They're trying to fix how you all felt about the Giants. And plenty of people are still frustrated, and the fan base is still starved and all of that. but I do think that fan base behavior has changed a little bit. And I actually wonder a little bit why. You know what I mean? I thought the Giants as an organization used the pandemic as an excuse for too long. And I only mean in talking to themselves. Boy, why is our attendance down? Well, pandemic, people are afraid of coming out. No, they're not. No, they're not.
And people don't work downtown anymore. There's a lot of reasons that
all these reasons
I think are somewhat valid, but I do agree that they were kind of hiding behind it too much.
Well, and I think they were valid, but I think they held on to them too long because those things are all real. Are there fewer people still today walking through downtown San Francisco? Absolutely. Does that mean that you can't fill a baseball stadium? No. What are we talking about? The Warriors fill their building. They're right next door. Buildings are full. The building's going to be full for concerts. You know what I mean? People will go find your product if they love your product. And for whatever reason, in the midst of 36-40, and many people still going, dude, Farhan, can't stand this guy. And where's our exciting player that you promised? And then you brought in players and they get hurt and they've disappointed. And so the fan base, I still hear people using the same criticisms, but the behavior changed. Why? Why did the behavior change? Why are more people coming to the ballpark? June Gloom didn't show up this year. Is that why? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just know that on some level, the behavior of Giants fans changed this year, and I think that was priority one in the Giants front office.
And I think the reason is the attendance is up about 9%, and I would say that they're probably 9% more exciting than they were last year. And even without Jung-Hoo Lee, and you forget about him, he's been out now for a month or so, but in general, I think this team is more exciting than last year's team. With the youngsters coming up, Kyle Harrison for a full year, Jordan Hicks has been a great story, Camilo Doval is a thrill ride every time he takes the bump, your various Rogers, Frisbee guy and his brother. I do think that this team is more exciting. So as a casual fan, a P2, so to speak, the diehards like yourself, Grandy, you guys are going to go to as many games as you're going to go to, and you're not changing your patterns based on, are they exciting? Are they good? Are they bad? You're going because you love it. More of the casual fans, and I'll put myself in that sphere, if the team's more exciting, more interesting, you're more likely to go.
Like one of our texters, 650, just said that the rise in attendance is because of Ramos and the youngsters.
It's a piece of it.
I don't know. The attendance was already going up before they even got here.
Right. I would include in the youngsters Bailey and Harrison and Doval.
I mean, they were largely here last year.
Yeah, and I would also add what I said about, Chapman and Soler and Jung-Hoo Lee and the idea of Blake Snell.
Okay.
These are all exciting things. And Jung-Hoo Lee came with a lot of excitement around him. Just the nickname, the way he played, the fact that he was somebody who had never been here before, and they gave him a big long-term deal, is somebody you could get excited about.
What about the coaching staff?
I think it helps. And I think it's not so much the person, because Gabe Kapler, for me, was a compelling figure, but the way he went about it turned off a lot of fans.
Just weird.
Well, just the whole idea.
I hate that word, by the way. I hate that word because
he's quirky.
Well,
he's quirky.
I don't know if people know what to do with it. I don't know if we're supposed to know what to do with it. Like, you're the manager of the baseball team, yet when you come to get a pitcher, it feels like you're on the catwalk. Your Instagram looks like you're getting ready for a date 5 days a week.
It's not his fault that he's gorgeous.
But what do we do with that? No, it's not you're allowed to be gorgeous, but like when you kind of sort of feel like you're making everything about that, like there's stuff even the fans don't know. Dude, if you turn your office, my office, if you turn Bruce Bochy's office into something that looks like a modern,
like a lounge
waiting room at a modeling studio, what do we do with that?
Come in and sit down. I'm ready for the interview.
Hang on. Let me strategically place my education magazines on the coffee table before we do our post-game interview.
Mood lighting and...
What do we do with that?
Yeah.
Nobody knows what to do with that. I know what Philadelphia did with that. Get this weirdo out of here.
Totally.
And we're much more accepting. You be the manager of the year, you can be as weird as you want. You can live on the Embarcadero, let alone ride your bike on it all the time.
Yeah.
But nobody knew what to do with it. So I do think, even though that sounds almost discriminatory, I don't want that. But I do think Bob Melvin made people feel like, oh,
it's a baseball team.
Baseball.
Again. Yeah, exactly.
I remember that. I do think there was some of that.
I think for me as a fan, it's the idea of, you get the lineup card and we all see it on social media. No game today, but tomorrow when the lineup comes out, you can almost assuredly predict who the 9 guys are going to be who are going to play. And for the most part, those 9 baseball players are going to get to play 9 innings. Unless there's a situation where you really need a pinch hitter late or a defensive switch. With Kapler, it was, here's the lineup for now.
Yeah.
And that for me is a big turnoff as well.
By the way, this has been all on the down low because the Giants are off today, but Yaz left the game yesterday with an injury. I mean,
what happened?
Well, I don't even know. I don't know the severity of it. He was pulled in the 3rd or 4th inning of the game last night. I mean, for all I know, Matos is on a plane right now for St. Louis.
Good point. And you'll get the first notification. I know you're dialed in on those Giants transactions.
Well,
you get the email.
But not tomorrow morning.
Not till tomorrow.
Yeah, not till tomorrow. No game today. They're not going to let us know.
Okay.
But, normally the way they pulled him out. Something was tight on his side, hip, something. And I think that would be the obvious move to make if an IL stint is coming. And I also know Farhan was quoted at one point this week, we will be looking for a spot to bring him back. Speaking of Luis Matos. So, might be back on the team as early as tomorrow.
Yaz still facing the gauntlet of arbitration, and he's the 3rd oldest Giant on the team. Only Casali and Nick Ahmed
so stupid.
Are older than Mike Yastrzemski at 33. So
I mean, if their guy Spencer Bevins,
Spencer Bivens, yep,
who was on the show briefly earlier this week, if he sticks, he's going to be one of those guys. That's what happens when you start your big league career in your late 20s. You essentially never get rich. I mean, you get rich. Yaz is doing fine.
Yeah, he's making $7 million, I think, this year.
It's a good salary.
Finally, yeah.
It's a good salary. But like that whole free agency thing, somebody want to sign me to a 5-year deal worth $50 million or more? Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Your career is going to be over by the time you get out of arbitration.
Bivens turns 30 a week from today.
Yeah. And what's he under control for? 6 more years?
At least. I mean, having just made his debut. So
it's a crazy system.
Yeah.
It's a really, really crazy system.
I do think that the roster in general has led to a little bit more excitement because there are younger players like Patrick Bailey now. He's for real. Logan Webb is the ace, and he will be the ace. You have a closer. And yes, Matos and Ramos and Luciano weren't here in April, but the idea of them, the threat of them, I do think leads to more excitement among the fan base, feeling like, okay, this is the year. Last year was supposed to be the year that a lot of these guys arrived, and well, they played, Casey Schmidt and whatnot, but they didn't really arrive. And now you go into the summer and you're excited. Elliot Ramos is probably going to be your all-star.
He should be.
I don't know who else would be.
Good God, he
Frisbee
should be.
guys falling on a little bit of tough times.
Logan's pitching well enough.
Yeah.
He's pitching well enough.
I'd have to look at the rest of the National League starters, but...
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we get locked into numbers that don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Logan doesn't have a bunch of wins. He has
sub-3 ERA.
Yeah, he has the ERA, and he has the name. Like Logan Webb, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't make the All-Star team last year, and then he finished second in the Cy Young voting. Think about that.
Yeah.
I think that Logan might / should probably be in there almost every year. But you're right. Elliot Ramos should be ticketed first and foremost. However, he's very much at risk for not making it because he's an outfielder and there are a ton of options. And if Logan does make it, well, then there's your Giants representative. And I kind of low-key can't stand that the Giants have become one of those teams. That used to be for the Royals and the Pirates.
Right.
Let's find a guy because we got to have a guy. The Giants have become that. Got to find a guy to be the all-star. Yuck.
Well, unfortunately, that's where you are when you're 4 games below 500 in a group of everyone, right?
And because you don't this year could have, should have been different because at least you're letting people play enough to where if they play really well, they can be an all-star. I don't know who played enough to be an all-star on this Giants team the last couple of years.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Logan Webb's second in the league in innings pitched.
Yeah.
So to that point.
And where is
only
he?
Seth Lugo.
Where is he in terms of ERA?
ERA, he's behind Jordan Hicks quietly. He's 17th in ERA.
Okay. All right. That's
among
good.
Qualifiers, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So 888-957-9570. That's one thing I think we'd love to explore because if so many Giants fans are still frustrated with the team, why are you behaving different? And are you one of those people? Why are you behaving different? Why are you going to more games? I don't really know much more of the data. I couldn't tell you what the TV ratings are right now. But we do have other little angles and visuals as to what is happening with data behind the scenes with the Giants. It is markedly better this summer than last summer. No question about it. So why are you behaving different?
Right.
If you're still as mad. So you can weigh in on that, 888-957-9570. And then, Grandy, getting back to the whole buy or sell point, there's probably a follow-up question there, especially when you said the baseline for all teams until they prove otherwise is to sell. What do you mean by that? Do you want to just get farm system players in return?
Well, I think there's, and I can explain it more on the other side too. I think there's this idea. It's almost like tanking in basketball. It feels like if you're selling, you're just accepting that you're going to be terrible and you're going to lose, and you're committing to a rebuild. I don't think that's what this is. You can go and get some minor league pieces now. Yes. You can hope that they develop into stars. You can also ship them off the very next offseason and get yourself a legitimate big leaguer. Free agency isn't working for the Giants. You got to try some other strategy, and maybe it is beefing up your farm system with some of the free agents that you were able to sign that have disappointed and turn that into something else productive soon down the road.
Yeah, let's keep this up because I'd want to ask also, I don't think the Giants have anyone right now where they would be getting elite prospects in return. And the people they do have that could get elite prospects, and you're not trading them.
Right.
Someone texted us earlier and be like, you could get them if you traded Logan Webb. You're not trading Logan Webb. You're not trading Logan Webb.
No.
No matter what.
Right.
I'll fight you on that one.
Yeah. Why would you trade your ace who you now have signed for 4 more years?
Who, by the way, is not only a phenomenal pitcher, but a tremendous leader. If you missed what he said when he was on the mound when everyone found out about Willie Mays passing earlier this week, that in and of itself tells me you don't trade Logan